Now let's go from the Netherlands to Saudi Arabia. On Monday, we spoke to Francis Ngannou. We had to get the other side of the story. Of course, it's the biggest fight of the weekend. It's one of the biggest fights of the year. It's MMA versus boxing one more time. It's the undisputed lineal MMA heavyweight champion going up against the undisputed lineal, in my opinion, boxing heavyweight champion. It's Tyson versus Francis. It's Fury versus Ngannou. Let's speak to the Gypsy King now. My old friend Tyson Fury. Hello, Tyson. How are you?
Hello there. I'm very, very well. Very well. I'm pretty pissed, though, that you've got Francis Ngannou boxing glove right there, but you don't have a Tyson Fury anything.
You bring up a great...
So fuck you.
I love you too, Francis. Excuse me, Tyson. His team sent me. Why didn't you guys send me anything? That's not fair. I'm just trying to promote the event.
I'm going to send you a massive Tyson Fury signed penis.
Oh. A Corey?
You can put it right on display, right there, near your name.
A Corey? Is that what you call? Isn't it called a Corey or something?
Yeah, we call it a Corey in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
And England.
Fair enough. Well, I'm very excited about this. And honestly, I must say, I don't know if I know you're a big fan of the show. You probably watch every episode. I would say that the MMA community has been a lot more receptive and kind to this fight than your boxing community, and especially the boxing media. Would you agree with that, Tyson? Does it feel like the MMA community is more excited and talking and covering this fight and talking about all the elements going to the fight, as opposed to the negativity of the boxing media and community?
I've not really felt any negativity of late. When it was first announced, people were pretty pissed, but as it's got going, it's been nothing but positive. Like every media outlet in the UK and boxing media outlets from around the world, they're all talking about it, and they've got it all over the stations, and it's been pumped up really, really big. And the Saudis have spent like tens of millions of dollars promoting it, so it's very, very, very big. And we're expecting a massive, massive numbers on Saturday night. We're expecting a massive fight, good fight.
Were you surprised by the criticism initially?
Haters gonna hate, but it doesn't stop me making tens of millions of dollars. So it is what it is. I'm not the type of person to hate on somebody if they're making tons of money. I'd wish them well, and I'd work harder so I could make tons of money also. But not everybody's like me. So yeah, all those people who are sick that I'm making millions of dollars, massive fuck you to every one of you.
And I don't know if they were mad, at least my perspective, that you were making money or not. I think most people are rooting for fighters to make money.
Of course.
I would think, at least that's what I feel. But I'm just wondering if the reaction was, they would prefer you do something else, and really didn't recognize how big of a deal this fight was, how historic it was. Did that frustrate you, that people couldn't recognize that an MMA heavyweight champ versus the boxing heavyweight champ was something worth watching?
No, I don't take what other people want into my account, because I've said this many times in many different interviews, but if I'd listened to negative comments and other people's wants, I wouldn't have never been in this position today. I wouldn't be undefeated for 15 years, and I wouldn't be making a shit ton of money, and I won't be the biggest star in sports. So I don't take much attention to what other people want or what their negative opinions are. I concentrate on what the Gypsy King wants, and I concentrate on what my goals are, not what other people's negative shit is. I've got enough problems in my life to deal with without taking the world's problems on also. So I just stay in my own lane, keep my head down, look after my family, train hard, fight easy, and get paid. That's all I do. And we call it, in the trade, getting paid and getting laid. And that's how we do it.
Yes, GDP. Get that paper.
That's how we do it. That's how we get down in Morecambe Town.
Okay, fair enough. Can I ask you, what about this fight, other than getting paid a whole lot, interested you?
Yeah. When I had the opportunity to fight Francis, it hasn't just come overnight. It's been years in the making, going back and forth on Twitter and Instagram, and even came to my Dillian White fight at Wembley back in 2021. And I couldn't get a boxing opponent that I thought was worthy enough to challenge, i.e. Joshua, Wilder or Usyk. So, Francis stepped up and we took that fight. And it is what it is. Like it or loathe it, me and Francis are making money out of it. And I'm sure it's going to do a shit ton of views on Saturday night.
I love everything about that, especially from Francis's perspective, because I know that he made 600,000 for his last UFC heavyweight title fight, which is an appalling number. And we've been covering him for a very long time, obviously here. And when he left the UFC and parted ways after they tried to sign him to fight John Jones, a lot of people, even in the boxing community, said he was crazy for trying to get a boxing match against you, or even a Joshua, or even a Wilder. And by the time he announced in May, Tyson, that he was signing with the PFL, they still said he was crazy. It was only when he announced the fight against you, or when this was announced, that people really understood the vision. Did you pay attention to any of that stuff, the criticism that he was getting, that he was, everyone was crapping on this guy, kicking him, saying he fumbled the bag, and knowing that there was a fight in the works between you and him, what was your reaction to all of that?
I'm not too sure of the comments that he fumbled the bag, because 600,000 is his biggest purse, and 600,000 is a hell of a lot of money, but not for the heavyweight champion of the world. It's not that much money. But if I was to try and earn 600,000 from a normal 9 to 5 job, probably take me about 452 years. But for the heavyweight champion of the world, I think Francis and everybody else in sport knows that if after winning the UFC heavyweight championship, then to go on and box any heavyweight ranked in the top 10, he was probably going to make a lot more than 600,000. So that's one point to point out. And another point is, I'm sure I read and heard that when he was leaving, he was offered $8 or $10 million to fight John Jones.
Collectively.
I'm not sure how true that was.
Yeah, I don't know how true it was. Maybe collectively for a 3-fight deal, not on a one shot.
Well, I think him and John is worth definitely more than 10 million.
Agreed.
For sure.
Agreed.
I would definitely say him and John Jones is at least a 10 million each fight, for sure. Not collectively, not to do 10 fights each or whatever, just on a one-off single fight. I would love to believe that does a lot more than 10 million each on pay-per-view. And that's the fight that after I fight him, then I'm sure he'd love to go and fight John, or maybe not. Maybe he wants to do something else. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's a lot of different reasons why he's left the UFC and gone to PFL, and now he's fighting Tyson Fury. But I think it was an absolute genius move, because if he goes to boxing and he loses to me, which he will lose to me, then he's collected $10 million, a career high payday, and he hasn't really damaged his reputation. Then he can still go back to the PFL and fight people in the cage, or he can still go and fight John Jones. I'm sure people would still be interested in him versus John Jones in a cage for the championship of UFC after I've knocked him out. So it's a no lose situation.
Do you think we'll ever see a day where the MMA heavyweight champion is making as much as what you're making, where it's even close?
I'm not too sure. I don't know the official numbers for the UFC, and I don't know what the deals are. I'm not involved in their negotiations, but it's to make 600K for a fight for the heavyweight championship. It's about what I got paid to fight Klitschko, so it's not that much low. It's not that low. I think to win the heavyweight championship, then keep defending it, and you got to take on some big names and create a name and create a fan following and be involved in big fights, and that's how you get big money.
A lot of people are dismissing his chances. They're downright mocking him when they see the sparring footage and whatnot. When you see this stuff, when you see whatever is being put out, obviously you're not seeing his sparring, but you're seeing some videos, I'm assuming, here and there. What do you make of the skills that you are seeing?
I think he's about level to the other heavyweights that I've fought. Big, strong guy with a puncher's chance. That's all they ever are to me. Big, strong guys with a puncher's chance. I've never really met anybody who can outskill me in boxing or even come close to matching my skill. But they all heavyweights have a puncher's chance. So, yeah, he's always got a puncher's chance. But whoever I would be fighting, I'd be 100% confident and call him a bum and a sausage, and he ain't worth a carrot, and he's going to get knocked out. So, yeah, nothing different here. I think Ngannou has got a kind of mental problems when it comes to taking his top off. Because even though we think he looks in shape, I think he's got body dysmorphia and he thinks he's fat when he's ripped. So that could play a massive part in this fight. Him thinking he's fat and embarrassed to take his top off in public.
What? What do you mean? What makes you think that?
Because he never gets his top off. And if I had a body like that, I'd have my top off in the rain, in the snow, every day. I've got my top off all the time, and I'm fat as fuck. So imagine if I had Francis's body.
That's true. What is it like? Everyone in the world saying you're going to smoke this guy, and you just did a 12-week training camp. You have to convince yourself not to believe these people, right? You can't, like, it's not like there's a risk the way people are talking about it. How do you block that out?
I never listen to the people. I never listen to anybody. Like I say, their opinions don't have any sway with me at all. I've trained as hard as I can train for Francis because I never leave any stones unturned. And I've trained for a 10-round war. And if it's anything less, then I'll have a bonus. But if it's not, then I have the reserves in the tank to go the distance at a phenomenal pace, throwing a lot of punches, power punches per round. And we all know that I can do the 12-round distance at a flying canter. So you can't listen to betting odds. You can't listen to what the pundits say or the boxing people or anybody because they're not in there on the night. And if you start listening to people who are not boxing, then it's a time you fail. And I don't take anybody lightly. I've seen so many times in the sport, especially where people fight people they're supposed to beat. They're always looking at the bigger picture, right? I'm looking at fighting. I will use somebody as an example. I will use Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, there was always talk of him fighting me or Wilder, and he gets through this fight, he's going to fight Wilder. He gets through this fight, he's going to fight Tyson. He fights Andy Ruiz on 2 weeks' notice, and he ends up getting knocked out. The odds going in were astronomical. Everybody thought he was going to smoke the guy, all the so-called boxing experts, all the pundits, all the media, everybody. This is his putting his toe in the American waters. This is a show for the American fight fans. And what happens? He gets knocked spark out. And then he goes home crying, and that's it. Had a knockout defeat. But I never, ever, ever do that, no matter who I'm fighting. If I was fighting somebody in a local bar and I knew I had to fight the guy in 6 weeks, guy not even from a combat sport, I would train hard because you never know what that guy's going to bring. And never mind someone from a bar, I'm fighting an absolute killer in Francis Ngannou, a 6'4" or 5'2", 70, 80 pound guy who's come from the streets, come from wherever he's from, Cameroon, sleeping on the floor. I read somewhere that he was in Paris eating rats off the street. So this guy is hungry. This guy's got a point to prove. Do you think I'm going to not train for him? Come in at like 400 pounds? I don't think so. I've trained as hard for him as I did for any other fighter I've ever fought. And at this level, you don't get no second chances. So better to prepare for the hardest fight ever, and it not be, than prepare for an easy fight and it's a war.
Could I ask how much do you expect to weigh on Friday?
I think I'll be around 270 pounds.
Okay. He told me around 275 for himself, so you'll be pretty equal.
We'll be about equal, yeah. I might be a bit heavier, depending on how much water I've drunk in that day. George usually likes me to drink a couple of gallons of water a day. So, yeah, it's quite heavy when you've got that amount of water in your stomach. So, yeah, probably about 270, 275. But I'm in great shape, and I've had a lot of good sparring, a lot of good training, and I'm injury-free. So Francis is fighting a very good Tyson Fury at the top of his game. There's no excuses coming from here, and I'm on a seek and destroy mission. And he shouldn't be that hard to find. He's a big lump, big head for me to hit. And, yeah, let's see if he can stand up to the power of the Gypsy King.
And you're referring, of course, to the great George Lockhart, one of the best nutritionists in combat sports. I want to keep it 100 with you, Tyson, because I know you appreciate that, as the kids say.
I appreciate it, yeah.
You know, I don't know if a show, an outlet, a media person has been more in favor of this fight, to the point where people were actually blaming me for Francis leaving the UFC because I was saying that he deserves to do this sort of thing. But so I've been very positive about this, but there's one thing that I would say would be criticism, and I'd love to get your response. I did say that I thought it was very disrespectful to the event, the fight, and to Francis to announce the Usyk fight before this fight, because you never know what could happen in a fight, as you just said.
Agreed.
Thank you. And so why did that happen?
It wasn't my choice. I would never in a million years do that. But the people who are putting these fights on, who's paying the money, they're in control. They're the promoters of the event. So the paymaster does what the paymaster wants, basically. But if it was up to me, I would have never, ever, ever done that, ever. Because I never count chickens before they hatch. Never. So yeah, I totally agree with you, 100%.
Okay, and so what did that like? How did you react to that when this is out? Because this goes against everything that you always say, right? You always say, "I'm not looking past this guy,"
Yeah,
and now all of a sudden we're being told, "Oh, there's a bigger fight coming down the line, or another fight coming down before this one has ever
yeah,
already happened." So, how did you react to the news
yeah.
coming out?
I wasn't happy at first from to announce it, but there was a lot going on in the background, and for me, it's just I don't concentrate on any other fight other than Saturday night, and what happens in the future stays in the future. I'm living it for today and in this moment, and my moment now is to fight Francis for the baddest man on the planet title. And when I've won that, only after I've won that, I won't even think about my next fight until I've had a week off, spent some time with my family, been in camp 12 weeks, and then I'll think about what's happening next.
So it's not going to be a situation where, let's say you win on Saturday, they're going to announce a date. That won't happen.
I'm not really sure what's going to happen.
Okay.
I'm not privy to them conversations because I'm in camp obviously for this big fight. So, like I totally agree with what you said. I totally agree. They should never announce fights before the first one's happened, um, because that's how people get knocked out. But I'm not even looking at the next fight. I'm only concentrating on Francis. And if it means breaking these two hands and getting a cut right through there to win, I will do it.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
And
Yeah, nothing else matters. Only Saturday night.
and am I correct in thinking that if he shocks the world and beats you some way somehow, I know this isn't something that you want to, think about, but if it happens, you'd rather rematch him than fight Usyk. Am I crazy for thinking that?
100%. But as we stand today, there's no rematch clause either way.
Wow. Nothing.
So if he knocks me out cold on Saturday night, I'll have to be begging him like this. Please give me a rematch.
Why? Why no rematch clause?
Just no rematch clause. I hate rematch clauses.
Yeah.
Rematch clauses have tied my career up for so long and cost me a lot of millions of dollars in court cases. And I always say, like, we don't need a rematch. If the first fight is good, then both participants would surely want a rematch. If it's a shit fight, then it's not deserving of a rematch.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate when people champions do this rematch clause. Obviously, I know why it is. It's for double payday, but they go into the first fight and they already announce, oh, there's a rematch clause. So it takes all the emphasis off the first fight. No one cares about the first fight. Oh, shit, there's a rematch clause anyway. Let's see who wins the second fight. That's the one that really counts. And I believe in these massive fights. Like, it was one of the stumbling points for me and Usyk the last time. They were desperate for a rematch clause. And I said, the fight of the century, why the fuck does it need a rematch clause? Let the winner go home with all the belts and the loser go home with his dick in his hand. And they didn't want to do that. It was just as risky for me as it is for them to lose the fight and go home empty-handed, but they didn't want to do it. So I believe it takes the total interest of a one-off event away from the first fight when they start announcing, oh, there's a rematch clause. So it's like, well, the first fight's not important. It's what happens in the second fight.
I like that.
So
Just want to ask you a couple more questions. I know you're tight on time
yeah.
over there, so if you don't mind. I saw you in Manchester. I was there as well. I thought your brother's assessment, Shane's assessment of your other brother, Tommy Fury's fight, was very honest and hard not to respect him being that honest after the fight. Can I ask what your assessment was of his fight against KSI and, in particular, his performance against KSI?
Well, I can be brutally honest because we always are. The fact that Tommy made $10 million at this fight, he's 24 years old, probably made $25, $26 million out of his 10-fight career. It's unbelievable. Like, I'm very, very proud of where he's come from. In 2018, Tommy didn't have $10 for a bus pass. Today, Tommy's got a hell of a lot of money, millions of dollars in his account. So I'm very proud of him. He can buy what he wants. He's got a $5 million mansion, G-Wagons, Lambos, Rolexes. Guy's flying. Regardless of the fights, all these fights he's had with Jake Paul and whoever else, it's show business. These fights, KSI, Jake Paul, Logan Paul, all these guys, Dylan Dennis, whoever these influencers are and YouTubers and all that, this is show business. This is bringing millions of eyes to the boxing world, and the boxing world should be very appreciative of it. They could have picked any sport to train for. They could have picked MMA, and MMA would have got all the views and all the eyes. So I'm happy that all these guys have come into boxing my chosen sport, and they're bringing new fans, like young kids, young girls, young boys, families. It was crazy the amount of people there the other night that were full families, kids. I never see them young people at boxing events. So it's a new crowd, and I'm very, very happy that these people are bringing them in, and I hope they do loads more fights, and Tommy as well. And I said this today or yesterday in an interview. Whoever the cruiserweight world champion is, WBC, WBA, whoever they are, they would be over the moon to fight Tommy for their title. I know who the light heavyweight champion is, Bivol and Beterbiev. They're not making the amount of money that Tommy's making. They would be honoured to fight Tommy for their belts. So this game is called prize fighting. We fight for a big prize. So regardless of how you're getting this prize or who you got to fight to get it, the ultimate aim is to get the prize. And Tommy has been doing that. So whether people want to slate his performance or say it was fantastic, either way, it doesn't really matter because he got paid and he moves on to the next one. These fights for Tommy and Jake and KSI, they're like their world title fights. That's how much it means to them. Everything's on the line. Emotions are flying. These boys are training really hard for these fights, and they deserve all the money they get because I know how hard and lonely boxing and the fight game and training is. It's not no plaything, even at that level. It's hard at any level. Combat sport, amateur MMA or world championship MMA, if that's your level, then it's very difficult. We all know that the combat sports is difficult, and I just wish that all combatants in all these fight sports were making good money, because it's no secret that average MMA fighters or average boxers don't really get an opportunity to make any money. They can't make a career out of it. They have to work other jobs as well, and it's one of those things. Not everybody can be world champions. Not everybody can make millions of dollars. But I just wish that there was a few more dollars for all the fighters and things, and better than what they get. Because sometimes it's hardly worth training. Some of these fighters are. I know in boxing this happens. Like a fighter will pay to go on a show. He'll not earn any money. He will pay out his own money to fight. I'm not sure if that happens in MMA. George said it doesn't happen.
Not really.
You
no.
always get paid.
Yeah, I mean sometimes
But
nothing,
boxing,
but yeah.
Yeah, in boxing, sometimes the boxers have to pay to fight.
Wow.
So it's tough, and then they try and build up a few fights, and then try to get another fight for some money, a TV fight or whatever. I know it's very tough, and I've been very blessed in my career and life because I've never had to experience that. I was always on TV and I was always getting paid. But I know a lot of fighters in the trade who are not getting paid and who wasn't getting paid. And the guy who's now just been announced to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world, Tom Aspinall. I remember when Tom was fighting professional at MMA and he wasn't making any money. And he always believed in himself. And he always was like, I can do it. I can win the championship. And now I look at him and like he's taking over the game and he's so big now. And now he's getting an opportunity to fight for the championship. It makes me happy, makes me proud. And you know what? Like if someone like Tom, I remember when he didn't have any money and when he was struggling to get fights and he couldn't get any fights for any money. And now he's got an opportunity to fight for the championship. Then so can so many other fighters do it as well. So it's a brilliant story.
It's incredible. I just have two last questions for you, and one of them was about Tom. He's actually joining us in an hour, and I know you have a great relationship with him. This isn't a thing that we see in boxing, people taking title fights on 2 weeks' notice and whatnot, but I didn't even know if you knew about the news because you've been so entrenched over there. I'm just wondering what your reaction is and what your message would be to him. Perhaps we could play it for him later on.
You know, this is a massive, massive opportunity for Tom, and we come from nearly the same area, just a couple of miles away from each other, and I know how hard and how long he's trained for an opportunity like this, and to take it on a short notice and save the event really, because I know John or one of them has been injured. Who was actually injured? Was it
John tore his pec.
John. Oh, there you go. Then it's a bad injury. So to step in on short notice, both guys, and keep the event going and keep everybody getting paid, and there's a championship on the line, and it definitely can be done. And the other guy's no slouch. He's got to fight. He's a good fighter, but I've always said since Tom started in the UFC, I've always said he's capable of winning the heavyweight championship of the world, and this is his opportunity to go there, seize it with both hands, and immortality awaits.
I love it. Last thing, how are you doing? And usually that's the question that I would start the interview with. But mentally up here, are you happy? Are you content? Do you feel like you're in a good place?
Yeah, and I'm very good. I'm very happy. Well, I strike happy because I've said this quite a bit now. I don't believe happiness is a real thing. I believe it's a byproduct of achieving something, whether it may be small or big. If you set to achieve something, you'll feel joy from it. And I'm not sure that being happy is something that I ever want to be, because I always want to be just setting goals and achieving them, big or small, and then I'll get like a joy feeling from that. But other than that, I'm feeling good. I'm in great shape, mentally, physically, emotionally. I've just had a little boy born, seventh
Congratulations.
child, and I've not seen him. He's 6 weeks old. I've seen him 3 times in 6 weeks. So that's how serious I've been with this training camp.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this fight done, winning, being victorious, and then going home and having some time with my family, because I've been away for a long time. Again, 12 weeks is a long time when in little kids' life.
Amen.
And I miss my dogs too. I miss my dogs.
Don't we all? The dogs are the best. Good luck to you, Tyson. I really appreciate the time as always.
you.
Can't wait for this. And I look forward to that big Corey, the signed Corey that you'll be sending us. I'll put it right here proudly on the desk. Okay. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right.
All the best, guys. God bless.
There
Bye-bye.
he is, the great Gypsy King, who is headlining the Battle of the Baddest on Saturday against the one and only Francis Ngannou. I will admit, can I shoot straight? Can I break the fourth wall, Frank?
You're gonna have to.
Just as I was like setting up the Tyson interview, I saw the glove to my right.
Oh man! So you just knock it off real quick.
Well,
Like, oh wow!
and then I got the message that Joe was setting it up. And I was like, well, you know what? Maybe the shot is a different, maybe we were feeding him this one. And I was like, maybe he can't really tell.
Yeah, well,
That's the first thing he noticed, huh?
Made for a good moment.
You think so? Okay. I mean, I thought I might have lost him there in that moment, right? I thought he was going to. But can I just mention, I mean, not a lot of people would say, like, I wanted to shoot straight with him. And what does he do?
He backed up what you thought.
He agrees. Can we go back to that breakout clip where it's like Ariel Helwani says Francis, and see all the people that were saying like I'm just being a ninny or a whiner or anything like that. And I'm happy. So look, I get it. I get it from, let's say it's, let's say it was Saudi's call. Let's say it was the people behind Riyadh season. I get why you want to put everything out there. This is a big thing. My understanding of Riyadh season is kind of like, there used to be a thing. I don't really think it's a thing anymore. Like where the World's Fair would come to a city. Expo. There was Expo 67 in Montreal back in the day that led to the Montreal Expos, in case you didn't know. And every country would have a thing, and it was a huge deal. And so Riyadh season feels like it's something like that, although it's much longer. It goes from this weekend, it starts to March. And so I understand they want to put everything, right? Like there's Crown Jewel, WWE next weekend. There's clearly boxing. There's horse racing. There's this, that, and the other.